The rain kept falling on the big windows of our house, making shadows dance on the floor. I stood by the kitchen sink, looking at my face in the shiny oven door. I was thinking about everything that had brought me to this moment. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Please subscribe, share, like, and comment. Thank you. Back to the story. 3 years ago, I married Richard. Richard is rich, kind, and almost 20 years older than me. Our love was not full of passion, but we understood each other. He took care of me and my family, and I gave him company. Richard, my husband, worked very hard. He started a big business that helps people with money. He traveled a lot for work, making deals and growing his company. When I met him, I liked that he was stable. He made promises and kept them, at least when it came to money and comfort. But over time, I saw that while Richard gave me everything I needed, he was hardly home to enjoy it with me. His business was more important than our marriage. We only had short phone calls, quick weekend visits, and dinners where he looked at emails instead of at me. There were times we didn't see each other for months because he was always away on business trips. This happened again and again. Then came his son, Sam. Sam was Richard's son from his first marriage. He was in his early 20s, tall and confident. People liked him easily. He had lived with his mother in another country for most of his life. But after his mother passed away, Richard told him to come live with us. At first, I saw Sam as a memory of Richard's old family. He was polite but distant. He acted like I didn't belong in the house. Unlike Richard, Sam didn't care about control or being perfect. He was free, passionate, and sometimes reckless. Where Richard was careful, Sam did things without thinking. Where Richard was distant, Sam noticed everything. He barely spoke to me at first. He treated me like I was not supposed to be there. Just give him time, Richard told me. He is stubborn but a good boy. But time didn't help. It only made things worse. After 3 months, everything changed. First, it was the way he looked at me, staring for too long when we passed each other. Then, little touches, a quick brush of his hand on my wrist, a light touch on my back when walking past. At first, I thought it was nothing. Maybe I was imagining things because I felt lonely. But then Richard left on a long business trip for a whole month, and something unexpected happened. Sam and I were alone in the house. That evening, I was in the living room wearing my nightgown and drinking a glass of wine. Sam walked in, barefoot and without a shirt, fresh from a shower. "You shouldn't drink alone," he said. His voice was deep, and his eyes were on me. I should have walked away. I should have ignored him. But instead, I poured him a glass. That was my first mistake. The second mistake was our conversation. We talked like we never had before. We talked about Richard, about life, about things we didn't want to admit. Hours passed. We finished the wine, but we stayed there, sitting close on the couch. It was late past midnight when I finally stood up, my heart beating fast. I told him I was going to bed. But as I turned to leave, Sam held my hand. His touch woke something in me, something I hadn't felt in a long time. I pulled away and rushed to my room, breathing fast. But as I lay in bed, I felt something strange, not tiredness, but something stronger. Something I didn't want to feel. A line had been drawn, and I knew it was only a matter of time before one of us crossed it. The next morning, everything felt different. The house was too quiet. Neither of us talked about what had happened. I did my house chores as if nothing was wrong, as if I hadn't thought about Sam's touch all night. But the truth was, I had barely slept. I could still hear his voice in my head, deep and strong. I remembered the way he looked at me, like I was more than just his father's wife. The thought of his gaze sent shivers down my spine. I had to stay away from him. I spent the whole day outside, running errands, meeting a friend for coffee, doing anything to avoid being alone with Sam. By the time I came back, the sun was setting. I walked into the house and saw him in the kitchen. He was cutting a lime. The fresh smell of lime mixed with the smell of whiskey. "You've been out all day," he said, not looking at me. I stopped at the door. I had things to do. "Right." He smirked and met my eyes. "So you're avoiding me?" His words caught me by surprise. My heart started beating fast. I tried to stay calm. "Don't be silly." Sam leaned on the counter, moving the glass in his hand. "You don't have to pretend. I see it." I frowned. "See what?" He took a slow sip of his drink, his eyes never leaving mine. "That you feel it too." I took a sharp breath. "Whatever you think is happening, it isn't." He tilted his head, watching me. "Is that what you tell yourself?" I turned away, looking for an escape. But before I could move, he stepped in front of me, blocking my way. My heart pounded as he reached up and brushed a strand of hair from my face. The air between us felt heavy. For a moment, neither of us spoke. I stepped back, feeling the wall behind me. He didn't move closer, but his eyes held me in place. "Tell me you don't feel it," he whispered. I wanted to say it. I wanted to tell him it was all in his head. But my mouth wouldn't form the words. Instead, I turned and rushed up the stairs, locking my bedroom door behind me. I leaned against it, my breathing uneven. This was wrong. All of it was wrong. I had to stay away. But deep inside, I knew it was already too late. And so, the days continued, filled with stolen glances, silent moments, and an unspoken truth that neither of us could deny. I took a quick step back. "This is not safe." Sam smiled a little. "So what?" I shook my head. "You are Richard's son." His jaw tightened. "And you are his wife." Silence filled the room. It was heavy, like a secret neither of us wanted to say out loud. I knew I had to stop this now before something happened that we couldn't undo. But deep down, I was scared it was already too late. That night, I lay in bed, telling myself nothing had happened. I had made the rules clear, and we had both stepped back. Then I heard footsteps outside my door. My heart raced. I knew we were on the edge of something we couldn't take back. The next few days were quiet. We both pretended nothing had happened. But the feeling was still there. Every glance that lasted too long, every small touch, it all made the air between us feel heavy. I kept myself busy. Cooking, cleaning, reading. Anything to stop thinking about Sam, who was just down the hall. I tried not to remember the way he had looked at me, the way his voice had sounded in the dark. But I couldn't avoid him forever. One evening, as I washed dishes, I felt him standing behind me. "You're different," Sam said softly. I turned around, holding onto the counter. "What do you mean?" He leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. "You act like you're scared." I laughed, but it sounded fake. "That's silly." His eyes moved to my hands. I was gripping the dish towel too tightly. "You never used to be nervous when I walked into a room." I dropped the towel and spoke firmly. "Whatever you think is happening here, it stops now." He tilted his head. "Why?" I stared at him. "You know why." He stepped closer. "Say it." The air felt thick. My heart beat faster. "Because you're my stepson." He let the words sit between us, then gave a small smile. "That's just a title." I shook my head. No, Sam. It's a rule. Something flickered in his eyes. Frustration? Sadness? I wasn't sure. But then he nodded. You're right, he said, stepping back. We need rules. Relief rushed through me. Exactly. But as I turned away, I saw him smirk. Let's just hope you don't break them first, he whispered. I gripped the counter and closed my eyes as he walked away. Because the scary truth was, I wasn't sure I wouldn't. For a week, we stayed away from each other. It was like walking on a thin sheet of ice, pretending everything was normal while knowing it could break at any second. Then, one Friday night, I came home from dinner with a friend. I had spent the evening trying to remind myself of the world outside this house, outside of Sam. But the moment I stepped inside, I felt it again. The air had shifted. He was waiting. He sat on the couch, holding a book, but he wasn't reading. Good night, I said quickly, heading for the stairs. Wait. His voice was calm, but there was something final about it. I stopped. What is it? He set the book down and stood up. He walked toward me slowly. Why do you keep running? I swallowed hard. Because it's wrong. His jaw tightened. But you feel it too. I shook my head. No, Sam. I can't. You can, he said softly. You just won't. A long silence stretched between us. Then, before I could think, I did the only thing I could. I turned and walked away. For the next week, I avoided him completely. I left the house early and came home late. If I heard him in the hallway, I waited until he was gone before stepping out. The space between us was necessary. But it didn't stop me from thinking about him. Then, one evening, there was a knock at my door. I held my breath. I knew who it was. Another knock. I know you're awake. I squeezed my eyes shut. Maybe if I stayed quiet, he would leave. I just want to talk, he said. I hesitated. Then, against my better judgment, I opened the door. He stood there, watching me carefully. You don't trust yourself around me. I stiffened. That's not. It's okay, he said, giving a small smile. I'll make it easy for you. I'm leaving. My breath caught. What? I found a place in the city. I move out next week. I should have felt relieved. Instead, something deep inside me twisted. This is what you wanted, right? He asked. I nodded and forced a smile. Yes. It's for the best. He looked at me for a moment longer, then stepped back. Good night. And just like that, he was gone. The night Sam left, the house felt bigger. Quieter. I told myself I had done the right thing. But as the days turned into weeks, I kept looking for him. A sweater left behind. The faint scent of his cologne. The memory of his voice in the quiet moments of the night. Then, one evening, Richard came home early from a business trip. We had dinner together. We talked about normal things. But for the first time since I married him, I felt like I was sitting across from a stranger. The days passed slowly. I kept myself busy with little things, but my mind was always somewhere else. I thought about Sam, wondering if he was happy in his new place. Wondering if he ever thought about me. Then, late one night, I got a message on my phone. It was from Sam. I miss you. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. I knew I shouldn't reply, but my fingers moved before I could stop them. I miss you too. As soon as I hit send, I knew everything was about to change again. The days that followed were filled with a new kind of silence. A waiting silence. One where I knew something was coming, but I didn't know what. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart jumped. Every time I walked through the house, I felt like something was missing. Then, one night, there was a knock on the door. And I knew. Sam was back. I realized then that the problem had never been Sam. It had been me. I never planned for this to happen. I never even thought about it. But one evening, after Sam had been gone for a long time, I found myself standing outside his door. I told myself I was just there to check on him. Just to see if he was okay. That's what I kept saying as I knocked. When Sam opened the door, everything changed. He didn't ask why I was there. I didn't explain. And when he stepped aside and let me in, I knew things wouldn't be the same again. Because deep down, I had already made my choice. The room was quiet. The lights were dim. I could hear my own heartbeat as Sam shut the door behind me. We didn't speak for a long time. I had told myself this was meant to happen, that I had no control. But standing there, I understood the truth. Every step I had taken had led me here. Every decision had been mine. "Are you sure?" Sam asked, his voice soft. I wasn't. Not really. But I nodded anyway. He stepped closer. "This isn't just for tonight," he said. "You know that, right?" I swallowed hard. Because I did know. This wasn't just a mistake. It was a choice that would change everything. Sometimes, we want things that we shouldn't. The excitement of something new can feel magical. But that doesn't mean it won't hurt people. I hadn't thought about what would happen next. I hadn't considered how much it would change things. Sam and I weren't just two people. We had a past. A family. People who depended on us. That night, I had to ask myself, was this real love, or just something I wanted in the moment? Was I running from something, instead of choosing Sam? Who else would get hurt if I went through with this? Suddenly, I knew the answer. I had to stop. I took a deep breath and stepped back. Sam frowned. "What's wrong?" "Everything," I whispered. He looked at me for a long time. Then he nodded. "You're right." We stood there, quiet, as the truth settled between us. Giving in would have been easy, but the strongest choice was walking away. I hesitated at the door, my hand on the handle. Outside, the night was quiet. Everything felt still. I had walked away. I had made my decision. But then, I turned back. I didn't mean to. My feet just moved on their own. Before I knew it, I was standing in front of Sam again. He looked at me, confused. "Why did you come back?" I didn't have an answer. I just felt something pulling me toward him. A force I couldn't fight anymore. I turned as if to leave again. But then, it happened. I tripped. Sam caught me, his hand steady. But the movement pushed us both back onto the couch. My heart pounded. His face was close. Too close. And then, we couldn't stop it anymore. One night turned into many. What should have been a mistake became a habit. A secret we shared. A world only we knew about. We stole moments when no one was looking. Whispered words we shouldn't have said. Locked doors that should have stayed open. Weeks passed. Then months. 6 months of hiding. 6 months of pretending. We laughed in stolen moments, hiding behind whispered conversations. But the weight of it all became heavier each day. Sam started leaving notes for me in places only I could find. Slipped into my bag, tucked inside a book I had left at his place, or even scribbled on napkins from our favorite coffee shop. Each note was a reminder of our secret world. Yet, in the quiet moments, when I was alone, I knew the truth. This couldn't last. One evening, as the sun set, I finally said what I had been afraid to say. This has to stop. Sam didn't argue. He didn't try to change my mind. He just nodded. Because he knew, just like I did, that this wasn't right. The secret was over. But the memories didn't fade. They stayed with me, part of me forever. I would pass by places where we once met in secret, and I could almost hear his voice. I would see something funny and instinctively reach for my phone, only to realize I couldn't send it to him anymore. The loss was there, even if no one else knew it. I tried to move on, but sometimes, late at night, I wondered if he ever thought about me, too. Some stories don't end where they should. And some feelings never really go away.